Hello, and welcome to Organizing and Streamlining Data Collection with DMC LabBook. I'm your host today for this TechCast, Matt Borkowski. I'm the Sales and Support Manager here at Aurora Scientific. And today I'd like to talk to you about our new edition of DMC, which we've called LabBook. And I'd like to tell you a bit about why we decided to name it LabBook and what's new in this particular version. Once I give you a bit of an introduction to LabBook, we're also going to do a bit of a software walkthrough, and I'll take some time to show you these new features that we're all very excited about here. So first and foremost, what is LabBook? DMC LabBook is the latest incarnation of the DMC software, which is this integrated suite of programs for data acquisition and analysis of muscle mechanics experiments. DMC itself has been around for nearly 20 years at this point, and this is sort of the latest generation of the software, and it's evolved quite a long way. So even from our previous version, LabBook has a very dramatically different look and feel, functions in a very different way. And we put a lot of effort into thinking about what would be the layout that would help a typical user navigate a standard muscle mechanics experiment. And we arrived at this sort of incarnation of the software. And through testing, through some early experience now, we're very encouraged, and we believe that this is the sort of layout that is going to help people dramatically improve experimental throughput. So for any people who are running the previous version, DMC, Dynamic Muscle Control version 5 in their lab, you can import all your sort of legacy protocols and files, and they will be compatible with the new DMC LabBook. But we believe that once people give it a try, they're going to really like this new interface. Without further ado, there are three sort of main areas where DMC LabBook is quite different from the previous version of DMC. There are these, I guess we could call them, three core functions, which, as I say, are quite different. The first is this concept of study management. And the idea behind study management is this sort of gives you the ability to map out your entire experiment from start to finish. So what parameters you want to track, how many samples or animals you plan to have in your study, exactly what functions you want to have in any experimental protocol. All of this is sort of done up front, whereas before it could be adjusted on the fly, and there was nothing to really police you in terms of sticking to the experimental flow that you had designed for any particular study. The second function is this idea of a visual experiment editor. Previous versions of DMC had something that was sort of text-based. There would be this matrix where you would type in all your parameters for the experimental protocols you would run. And we've sort of taken that in a very different direction and created this visual editor, which prompts you for whatever data you need for a particular experimental protocol, and it generates a preview of that protocol and the functions on the fly as you're creating it. So much more of a visual feedback tool to the user. And the third and final function is this idea of a pre-launch window. We call it in the software the prepare experiment window. And this sort of window is going to ensure that the researcher is able to go through the steps to optimize their animal or their muscle sample in a way that is in keeping with standard practice. And it provides sort of the information in a very visual way as feedback to the user to ensure that this optimization is done as well as possible. And once that's completed, they're able to execute the protocol as they normally would. Just to summarize, I sort of wanted to give an overview of some of these key benefits of DMC LabBook. So in summary, the DMC LabBook is designed to help you navigate easily through conventional muscle mechanics experiments. It is a way to make sure that no piece of data ever gets lost from your lab notebook. I think we've probably all had that experience at one point or another, and it's a terrible feeling. So if we can even save one piece of data, then we feel we've done our job. DMC LabBook is intuitive and visual, and there's obviously a night and day difference between the new visual editor and the old sort of programming matrix. And finally, DMC LabBook is certain to improve laboratory throughput and efficiency. And that, we believe, is especially true for labs where there are multiple users of the software and potentially multiple studies being run on the system at any given time.